Welcome. Another glorious day for Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. That is continuous, dedicated practice over a period of time with faith that it will be having some benefit. I've had some benefits from this. And please remember, not too long from now, just a few days, we'll be having our celebration of this yearly program. Right below, if you can see that gray box, there's a link that will take you to a place where you can get the details and register. It's by donation, and all are most welcome. And whether you've been watching the whole year or just started recently, you are welcome as we dwell on the end of this very, very special time together. And I'm looking at my notes here. I got some great questions yesterday in the comments. And please remember, you can comment on these videos and I will do my best to answer either directly to you or when I think the questions or remarks are especially good to everybody, because the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, written thousands of years ago, is still applicable today. It talks about the universal human condition, and that's one of the remarks I received yesterday. So one of the wonderful commenters wrote, so many thoughts about actions and attachments. We've been talking about that the past couple days. Not only my own actions, but those of others and attachments to the results. Where does this intense attachment come from and why? Especially when attachments cause suffering, why do we have them? Or is it just the human condition? Wow. I was going to write something and I thought, let's chat about this, hopefully briefly, because it's another cold day. Hey, at least it's warm enough that I can be on the porch again. Those 4 degrees make a difference. It is over 0 degrees Fahrenheit with the wind chill today. Yay. Which I talked about my attachment to to protecting my body, basically. I don't even know about staying warm because I can experience the cold, and not being attached to whether my body is cold or not actually helps me protect it better, if that makes any sense. So this was a very good question. Where does this intense attachment come from? And I thought I addressed this question earlier in the year, and I went back and searched my notes and I couldn't find that I had, but this question keeps coming up over and over. And the reason I'm mentioning this so many times is because if you read the Gita, Arjun does kind of ask the same questions over and over. It can be hard for our ego to hear the answer. And so we'll get the answer, we'll go, yes, or we'll get a beautiful quote and we'll go, yes. And then within a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month, it's gone. And then we have to hear it again. We go, right, how did I forget that? And actually, that's one of the reasons people read the Gita over and over again. And every time you read it, you'll go, oh, how did I not see that before? Or, oh. So I encourage you, even after this sadhana is over, to keep going and to see what happens, because you will hear a lot about this attachment. And attachment, a great word in Sanskrit for it is Kaama. Kaama is a translation or transliteration, and Kama Sutra, which people associate with sex, but it literally means the threads of desire. And we have desire. Desire is what creates attachment, which creates craving. Desire creates craving, creates attachment, creates suffering. So we can say that at the root of our suffering, the root of our attachments, the root of our human condition is desire. But that's oversimplifying, as with anything in the Gita. In Sanskrit, I've mentioned there are no capital letters. So there's Kaama, desire. And if it were written in Sanskrit with a little k, it means the ego-based desire, ego-based. And what the Gita is trying to help us do is get to the big K, Kaama, the spirit-based. Our ego and our spirit sometimes are in conflict. Our spirit, our soul, whatever you want to call it, that timeless part of us knows, and the ego doubts and doesn't trust. The little k, Kaama, the desires of the ego are what causes this suffering. Is it just a human condition? No. I would say after much reflection, and this answer could change tomorrow based on my understanding. See, as we come back to the question again in the cycles, it's a life problem. That is, things that are alive, they have this challenge. In fact, that was what the next comment related to. This was a great comment too. It seems after contemplating that all my actions are based on my desire to either feel really good or not to feel really bad. Exactly. That sums it up. That couldn't have written a better comment myself. Thank you for that. So, from the Gita's point of view, if you remember, we talked about these three qualities of nature. One is tamas, which we can say is staying the same. And every being in the cosmos is conscious, but not every being is alive. The really tamasic ones we would call dead. And I think of a rock. A rock, we would say, is not alive for many reasons, however we define life. But I could put a rock outside and it's cold, doesn't care. I could put a rock in absolute freezing space. Those are called asteroids. They don't care. They're like, they let gravity take them hither and yon. You can put a rock real close to the sun. Hello, planet Mercury. And it doesn't. I mean, it's still a rock. You can put it underwater and the rock is still a rock. You can put it in the air. The rock is still a rock. So the rock really has no incentive to change. It's fine. It's fine. So it stays the way it is. It's tamasic. And that works for a rock. However, when you introduce life into the picture, we limit ourselves in some ways. So, for example, I could not put myself underwater for a long period of time like a rock because this being would die. I couldn't put it on the planet Mercury because it wouldn't last long. And I couldn't put it out in space because it wouldn't last long there either. This whole idea of life, when we become entangled with life, part of Kaama is actually protecting that life. Part of keeping alive is protecting that life. Part of having a spiritual experience is realizing the value, the joy of life. And so for life to continue, life has to move toward the things that feel good and away from the things that feel bad. And this is the cause of the problem. But again, if you're just going on your life force, your natural life force can draw you toward things that taste good and are healthy and things that maybe they taste good, but you'll know they're not really healthy. Or sometimes you're tricked because it's so crunchy and salty and fatty. Oh, especially this time of year, right? So if you can follow that big K Kaama as you're embodied as a living being, the suffering goes away. It's when you get stuck on that little K Kaama that has to do with the ego that thinks it knows better than the spirit, the ego that distrusts and fears and wants to go back to that no change, the no change of being like a rock or something dead where nothing threatens you. And I think that's why it's so important for many of us on the spiritual journey to find that peace within ourselves. The spirit is actually beyond all the gunas, the elements, the tamas, the moving back and forth, which is rajas, even the luminous, exquisite, enlightened balance of sattva. There's a part of us that doesn't change. And that's often what the spiritual quest is about. Life changes, life tortures us, life gives us good and bad, but there's a part of us that doesn't change. And we really want to connect with that oftentimes. That's us with a capital U, or you with a capital Y, or the self with a capital S. Anyway, it's hard to describe in words. That's what this year-long practice is about, is trying to experience this for yourself. And it's also helping us realize the value. So many spiritual teachers say the absolute value of having a human life where we're not only pulled by these forces of life, but we can observe the pull and balance it out. All righty. Enough yak. Today's dedication is to Madhuramurti, to Sharon, and to Jill, all of whom sent wonderful messages yesterday. I so appreciate you. And now I'm going to go appreciate the cold. You can stay in your comfy, warm place. like the tech is doing. See, the tech, if I put it outside, would sit there and crack. It doesn't care. I care. I love you, tech. All right. Oh, birdie footprints. The birds were here. Oh, trying to get in. Don't come out, Mr. Kitty. Okay, time for our 5-minute contemplation. I invite you to notice if you can contact that unchanging part of yourself, because that's what I do out there to not be overcome by cold, is notice that constant part of myself that's beyond cold and warmth, and I let my awareness rest there. Okay, Mr. Putty? 5 minutes. Stay. You really want to stay inside. I tell you, you do. cold. There we go. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining today. Let's embrace the tamasic part of us and plan to meet again, same time, same place. Until then, I'm so glad you're you. Later.